Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 183. We are going to talk about Legend Has It from 2009. I watched this on Tubi or Fossum, I can't remember. I had not seen this before. As always, we start with the prominent crew and cast. You can find links to a more complete credit list in the show notes if you would like. The film was directed by Max Nikoff, written by Jared Cohn, credited as Jared Michaels. Max Nikoff is a filmmaker and sound technician with an unconventional background. Born in the Soviet Union, he studied aircraft and rocket design in Moscow. As the USSR collapsed, he escaped to America. He studied filmmaking, taking part in independent projects, doing anything he could. As a director, Nikoff helmed two low-budget horror films. Both received notably poor reviews. Nikoff's predominant career has been in the sound department roles, with over 120 sound credits to his name. Jared Cohn is a prolific American director, screenwriter, and producer specializing in low-budget independent cinema. Known for shooting features in as few as 6 to 8 days, he has directed over 50 direct-to-video films distributed by Netflix, Hulu, Showtime, Sci-Fi, and Lifetime. He's closely associated with The Asylum, Atlantic Rim, and Board Bad. We'll see his directing work when we get to A Little Dead Rotting Hood. In 2023, Cohn released his memoir, 50 Movies Made, Lessons Learned on a Filmmaker's Journey, offering guidance to aspiring indie filmmakers. The cast is mostly Toronto locals, with Jared Cohn as Ollie, billed as Jared Michaels. Legend Has It sits at a 3.2 rating on IMDb, and that's being generous. And do not bother. It is not actually a werewolf movie, and it is barely a slasher film. The film hints, and I mean hints, that Willie suffers from hypertrichosis, and this is why his family hid him away and mistreated him. You could argue Willie's resistance to bullets and homicidal rage comes from the hypertrichosis as well. You would be dead wrong, but you could try. So let's cover the synopsis. It's 1976. The Hutchins family, father, mother, and son, sit down for a candlelit chicken dinner. In the middle of the prayer, someone wielding a knife attacks and kills them, plus two others that we don't see. We never find out who those two others were. The killer was never caught. The case remains unsolved and is the stuff of a local legend. In the present day, Brian Bales misses the most boring college class on foam latex and special effects makeup. Brian plans to shoot a documentary on the Hutchins murders. He and 5 other students drive into the remote wilderness to find the place. They arrive armed with cameras and recording equipment, ready to investigate the property and surrounding area. Someone watches them drive up from inside. Turns out the last crew to film here also died. Back home, Brian's professor finds out the subject of his film and rushes off in a panic, and we never see him again. After exploring the house, they camp in the living room and hold a seance, which summons actual ghosts. After the haunting, the crew head to bed. Well, to sneak off for some sex. Brian's girlfriend, Kelly, who is the most spooked by the location, dreams about the murders. The next day, Brian and his cameraman head into the nearest town and interview the local sheriff, who's not thrilled about outsiders dredging up old tragedies. Kelly recognizes the Hutchin boy's photo from her dreams. A drunk warns her not to go back to the house. He also tells her about the other Hutchins boy they kept locked up because he is a half man, half beast. While this is going on, a very hairy man kills the fornicating pair with a machete. Kelly finds the corpses when they get back. The hairy man takes her hostage. The others drive him off, but not before he cuts Kelly and kills the cameraman. From there, the beast hunts them one by one. It attacks the sheriff and kills the deputy when they show up. Kelly knows the beast's name is Willie from her dreams. Brian accidentally kills Kelly while trying to kill Willie. The sheriff shoots Willie before finally dying. Willie just gets up and shuffles off. Kelly's ghost joins the others in the house. The end. Legend Has It does not feature any transformation sequences. This isn't a film about lycanthropy in any real sense. Despite appearing on werewolf movie lists on various sites, Legend Has It doesn't meaningfully engage with lycanthrope mythology. There are vague suggestions in the film that something supernatural might be connected to the Hutchins murders. We do see ghosts. Kelly is having prophetic visions, but Willie's just a kid with a medical condition, hypertrichosis, and a family that abused and mistreated him. He snapped and started killing people. And that might be why the film has such low ratings. Audiences were expecting a creature feature based on its categorization, and they were likely disappointed by what amounts to a pretty generic slasher film. I know that's how I felt. The film could have added actual lycanthropy if it wanted to. It didn't. This obscure movie thinks that it's a slasher film set in a cursed farmhouse. It's not. It's actually an accidental horror documentary about the real monsters, the kids holding the camera. From minute one, the rot is obvious. These aren't journalists. They're not even friends of the victims. They're aspiring filmmakers who picked the Hutchins family massacre, 4 unsolved murders, including kids, because real tragedy equals clicks, views, and a fast track to fame. They giggle over crime scene photos, high five about how gruesome it is, and treat the blood-soaked house like it's their own personal haunted attraction. The more horrific the details, the more excited they get. Not out of empathy, out of hunger. And the movie never calls them out on this. Director Kyle Nikoff wants us to see them as scrappy underdogs, passionate artists, just chasing the truth. Instead, every frame screams the opposite. They're trespassing, rifling through evidence, sleeping where children were butchered, all for B-roll and sizzle reel. They're not investigating mystery. They're strip mining an open wound and calling it content. A smarter film would have leaned in. Let the footage itself become the indictment. Let the audience slowly realize the crew's presence is what's keeping the dead from resting. Let the final twist be that the only curse is their own predatory ambition. But legend has it stays blind to its own point. It wants us to root for these ghouls right up to the last jump scare, never noticing the most disturbing thing on screen isn't the ghosts or the killer. It's the grinning 20-somethings who decided someone else's slaughter was the perfect subject for their debut feature. 15 years later, in the age of true crime TikTokers dancing on gravestones and podcasts that milk a single murder for 40 ad-filled episodes, legend has it doesn't feel dated. It feels grossly prophetic. The ghosts were in the house. The monsters were behind the lens the whole time, hitting record. Rural horror has one of the clearest contracts in the genre. City folks ignore every warning, cross the invisible line into backwards nowhere, and pay in blood. Deliverance, Texas Chainsaw, Hills Have Eyes, Wolf Creek, Wrong Turn. The formula is decades old, and when it's done right, it still makes your skin crawl. Legend has it knows the contract by heart, it just forgets to bring a pulse. Everything is on the page. 6 smug urban documentarians head to a forgotten hamlet to film an unsolved family massacre. Locals scowl, mutter y'all shouldn't be here, and wave shotguns. The crew smirks, keeps rolling, breaks into the murder house, and of course, something nasty wakes up. Same beat sheet as a dozen classics. The difference is execution, and legend has it has none. The rural setting never feels hostile. It barely feels present. It's all flat daylight and tourist brochure countryside. There's no creeping sensation that civilization has slipped away. No moment where you realize help is ours in any direction. The locals are even worse. They're cartoon gargoyles who deliver their one line in an accent so cartoonish it sounds dubbed by someone who once saw Deliverance on mute. They vanish the second the trope box is checked. And then there's the murder house itself, the supposed heart of the dread. In the best rural horrors, the house is alive. Floorboards breathe, wallpaper watches, doors close on their own. Here, it's a perfectly ordinary 2-story farmhouse with working water that they point out, clean floors, and a vibe that screams weekend Airbnb. The crew walks through saying, this is where the dad got gutted, like they're on an HGTV tour pointing out original hardwood. Nothing creaks, nothing feels violated, nothing feels dangerous. Because none of these pieces carry weight, the whole familiar arc collapses into boredom. Warnings mean nothing when the warners are clowns. Trespassing feels inconsequential when the house looks like it was freshly vacuumed. Dread never builds because there was never any tension to begin with. Rural horror works when it convinces you, just for 90 minutes, that there really are places civilization forgot, and some doors should absolutely stay locked. Legend has it never convinces you of anything, except that its makers watched the classics, copied the obvious beats, and figured that that was enough. The familiar tropes aren't the problem. Lazy, weightless recitation of them is. In the end, the scariest thing about Legend has it isn't what happens inside the farmhouse. It's the realization that a movie can tick every single rural horror box and still leave you checking your watch, wondering why nothing feels dangerous. So, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, I plan to discuss Zombie Werewolf's Attack from 2009. Keep your eye on the moon, a silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back next episode.